ILS runway 25 approach AGN 510. TBM November Delta 505 contact center on 127.6. Good day.
127.6 TBM November Delta 505. Goodbye. Center TBM November Delta 505 is passing 2,200 feet, climbing 10,000 feet.
TBM November Delta 505 center altimeter 29.80 radar contact. Continue. TBM November Delta 505 climb and maintain 16,000 feet.
Climb and maintain 16,000 feet TBM November Delta 505.
Delta 505, please expedite your descent 10,000 feet. Munich Center on 120.65. Good day.
Going to 120.65 TBM November Delta 505. Munich Center TBM November Delta 505 is passing 11,900 feet, descending 7,000 feet.
TBM November Delta 505 Munich Center altimeter 29.85 radar contact. Continue to Adumi. Edelweiss 131, contact Zürich Center on 126.225. Good day. Going to 126.225 Edelweiss 131. Turkish 1826, contact Vienna Center on 124.4. Good day. Going to 124.4 Turkish 1826. November Delta 505, contact Zürich Center on 126.225. Good day.
126.225 TBM November Delta 505. Goodbye. Zurich Center TBM November Delta 505 is at 9,600 feet descending 7,000 feet.
TBM November Delta 505, contact Zurich approach on 125.333. Good day.
Going to 125.33 TBM November Delta 505. Zurich approach TBM November Delta 505 is at 9,200 feet descending 7,000 feet.
TBM November Delta 505 Zurich approach altimeter 29.85 radar contact. Continue to Tango Romeo Alpha. Zurich approach Edelweiss 131 is at 11,400 feet climbing flight level 240. Edelweiss 131 Zurich approach altimeter 29.85 radar contact. Continue to ZH 501. Edelweiss 131, you are 19 miles northeast. Climb and maintain flight level 240. Expect ILS runway 14 approach via Amiki transition. Clear to Amiki. Climb and maintain flight level 240. Expect ILS runway 14 approach via Amiki transition. Clear to Amiki Edelweiss 131. Allow tree 4 tree climb and maintain 12,000 feet. Climb and maintain 12,000 feet. Allow tree 4 tree. Allow tree 4 tree climb and maintain 14,000 feet. Climb and maintain 14,000 feet. Allow tree 4 tree. Allow tree 4 tree, you are 8 miles northwest. Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect ILS runway 14 approach via Jipple transition. Clear to Jipple. Maintain present heading and altitude. Delta 505 descend and maintain 4,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 4,000 feet TBM November Delta 505.
TBM November Delta 505, you are 13 miles northwest of Zurich. Contact Dubendorf Tower on 118.975 when inbound on the approach.
Tower on 118.975 TBM November Delta 505. Dubendorf Tower TBM November Delta 505 12 miles northwest inbound ILS runway 14 approach.
TBM November Delta 505 Dubendorf Tower. Altimeter 29.88, wind 187 at tree. Cleared ILS runway 14 approach.
Dubendorf Tower TBM November Delta 505 inbound ILS runway 14 approach.
TBM November Delta 505 Dubendorf Tower. Altimeter 29.88, wind 187 at tree. Cleared ILS runway 14 approach.
Dubendorf Tower TBM November Delta 505 inbound ILS runway 14 approach.
TBM November Delta 505 Dubendorf Tower. Altimeter 29.88, wind 187 at tree. Cleared ILS runway 14 approach.
Cleared ILS runway 14 approach TBM November Delta 505.
Wind 187 at tree. Cleared to land runway 14. Bobcat 768 number 2 for landing. Follow the aircraft on final. Wind 187 at tree. Cleared to land runway 14. Cleared to land runway 14 Boeing 600. Clear to land runway 14 number 2 Bobcat 768. Iberia 632. Goodbye. Contact ground on 121.855. Edelweiss 232. Goodbye. Bobcat 768 go around. Going around Bobcat 768. Bobcat 768 contact Zurich approach on 130.56. Good day. TBM November Delta 505, follow the aircraft on the runway. Wind 187 at tree. Cleared to land runway 14.
Cleared to land runway 14 TBM November Delta 505.
Boeing 600 exit runway when able. Bobcat 768. Goodbye. Boeing 600 contact ground on 121.855. Boeing 600. Goodbye. TBM November Delta 505 exit runway when able. Beeline 2735 Dubendorf Tower. Altimeter 29.88, wind 187 at tree. Cleared ILS runway 14 approach. Cleared ILS runway 14 approach Beeline 2735. Dubendorf Tower, Swiss 281711 miles northwest, inbound ILS runway 14 approach. Swiss 2817 Dubendorf Tower. Altimeter 29.88, wind 187 at tree. Cleared ILS runway 14 approach. TBM November Delta 505, turn next taxiway. Cleared ILS runway 14 approach Swiss 2817. TBM November Delta 505, contact ground on 121.755.
121.755 TBM November Delta 505. Goodbye.